This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. Well, Avram, it's not just food orders that are getting more expensive these days, right?
Nope. We are seeing a lot of price hikes on, particularly on GPUs. Uh, now there's a lot of reasons for the price hikes. So the number one reason is that we're in a transitionary period. So uh, Nvidia just came out with its 5070 Ti, 5080, and 5090 GPUs, which you cannot buy unless you buy them from a scalper. And so they kind of stopped manufacturing the old versions, the 4090, the 4080, the 4070 Ti, stopped manufacturing those. They also seem to have cut back on the mid range cards, like the 4060 Ti and the 4060, because the price of those, you can get them, but the price of them has shot way up. And AMD cards, there's some new AMD cards, and AMD's older cards are also jumping in price. So this is a terrible time to get a graphics card. Now, has there ever been a good time? I don't know, 6 months ago. Uh, but uh, you know who actually is providing some value. Um, in Intel actually, um, Intel cards such as the A380 are actually a decent deal on the low end. So I had to update our list of recommended PC builds this week. I'm going to show it to everyone. But I have to say that there's kind of disaster going on right now in terms of the price of graphics cards. In the case of some of these things, what we really had to do was say, um, like, here's a good graphics card for this build if you can get it. So um, I maintain every month this page of recommended builds by price. Um, And right now you can build a sub $500 gaming PC with an Intel Core i3 chip um, and a 1 terabyte SSD uh, and a discrete graphics card. And the discrete graphics card to get for this low end is the Intel Arc A380. That card, I mean, you'll be able to play a fair number of games at 1080p ultra settings. Some games you'll have to drop down to mid-range settings. You could forget about playing at higher than 1080p resolution. You could forget about ray tracing. But you'll have a decent 1080p gaming machine for $480 if you follow our advice. Um, so not terrible, right? Um, we save some money here by getting an inexpensive case. You could spend more on that. We save some money here by getting an inexpensive power supply. Um, but overall, you can not do too badly for $480. Now, let's say you could jump up to an $800 or so budget. Then you could go to a Core i5. Now, you might notice that the um, the Intel chips we're recommending here are the 14th gen chips. They're not the newest generation Core Ultra Core Ultra chips. Why? The Core Ultra chips are more money and less performant. Um, so you're better off with the 14th gen chips. Um, so again, so here we're saying to get an AMD Radeon 7600, which will get you better 1080p gaming, um, much more playable, more games will play at 1080p Ultra. Um, you can jump up to 32 gigs of RAM, get a better SSD, get a slightly nicer case, bigger power supply. Um, so not a bad setup if what you want is 1080p gaming. Now, starts to get more complicated when you start to jump up into the $1,000 range. Now here we're recommending the Nvidia RTX 4060. This is often over $400, although we saw somebody selling it for $369. Just a month ago, it was $299 everywhere. Now the 4060 is, you're lucky to find it for under $400. You're often seeing it for $400. The 4060 card is really good for 1080p gaming, could kind of start to touch playing games at 2K, can handle some ray tracing at 1080p. We also recommend getting the Ryzen 7 5700X3D CPU for this because it has lots of 3D cache, which really helps with 1080p gaming. And with this recommendation, you can actually go all the way up to a 2 terabyte SSD to hold more games. So not bad, but you see the price is increasing on the GPU. Now, if we go up and, a month ago, we were recommending the 4060 for our $800 build, but now we can't. So now the next step up, the $1,500 PC, most of the money for this goes into the 4060 Ti card. So it's a step up from the 4060, slightly better frame rates, and yet you're spending like $200 more to get that small step up to the 4060 Ti. So, big price increase to get from the 4060 to the 4060 Ti, which is the next level up. Here we also recommend going with a slightly bigger power supply, 750 watts, with a nicer, faster SSD in the SSD 50X. So a nicer build here. Now, when we jump up to $2,000, this is where we're going to start to recommend GPUs that you may not be able to get at this price. The 5070 Ti, which is the new kind of mid-range card from Nvidia, is supposed to cost $749. Supposed to. You cannot if you're lucky, you may see it for that. But chances are you'll be seeing it on, the only place you'll be seeing it right now is eBay. How much is it on eBay? Let's find out right now. 70 Ti. So 749 is what we would want it to be. We're now seeing it for $1,100.
Woo.
Right? And so it is a big expensive step up, but there's really no other card to recommend if you want to take a serious step up from the 4060 Ti. So what to do? Wait, hopefully, until there's more of these produced and you can get one at retail prices, which should be in the 749 bracket, because it is just crazy how much it costs, um, then I mean, it can play games at 4K at sort of mediocre frame rates. At 1080p. So the other thing is we're stepping up here to a Ryzen 7 7800X3D, another thing with 3D cache that helps with the 1080p gaming. Um, Finally, our dream machine here is the the has an RTX 5090. Now, an RTX 5090's MSRP is $2,000. Let's figure out what we think we could find it for. Before I hit enter here, Scott, how much do you think a 5090 will cost?
What did we say MSRP was?
2000.
Whew. 5090 MSRP of 2000. If you're going to find it, I mean, wouldn't be surprised to see it at least 2x.
Okay, let's see.
Probably 2.5. Yeah.
3899, 4724, 3750. So close to 2x, in many
Yeah.
cases a little bit less than 2x.
And several well over.
And several well over. So yeah, very, very expensive, right? So the price of these graphics cards is insane. The price of CPUs has gone up a little bit too, but the main driver of higher prices is GPUs. Now, um, one more thing, I hate to remind everybody, but we're also facing tariffs. Um, so nobody wants to say it's not really clear yet exactly how much more graphics cards will cost when the full impact of the new tariffs is known, but there's a good chance that GPUs will be impacted. There's a good chance that other other components will be impacted. Um, it's a little hard to say. We know that I think there's coming. It's already been the case for a couple of months that there's a 10% tariff on all goods from China, and now it's going up to 20%. So if they're manufactured in mainland China, uh, there's issues, but if they're manufactured in Taiwan or they're manufactured in Vietnam or Singapore, then it's not a problem. If any part of them is completed or manufactured in Mexico, then that could also be an issue um, because we know that there's some tariffs there, although those tariffs have been sort of on and off, so we can't totally predict. But the Chinese tariffs of 20% doesn't seem like there's any pushback on that. Doesn't seem like there's going to be any lowering of those tariffs.
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of the financial people have been saying is there's no, like, from day to day it seems impossible to predict what it's going to look like. So up and down and on and off and left and right, and
I
the
mean,
the agency that is responsible for uh, actually collecting and implementing tariffs is about 200 people, and they say they don't even have the resources to be able to do what we're talking about right now, let alone splitting it up. So who knows? There's gonna be chaos from
yeah,
that, and chaos is
yeah,
never better. It's my point. The chaos never makes things less expensive or makes them even. Chaos always raises prices.
yes. So yeah, chaos. Um, there's going to be chaos. So it's going to make prices worse. We've had a number of laptop vendors that have said things to us like, we can't tell you what the price of a product is now that's coming out because we don't know how much we're going to have to add for tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a difficult time to even know what you're going to be paying for things a month or two down the road. I mean, you might be better off spending these exorbitant prices now because they might be subject to bigger tariffs later.
Though on the video cards, I can't imagine 100%
No,
increase.
no, that's not a tariff, right?
Right, but I
That's
mean,
that's
it,
scalping.
yeah, exactly. But even paying the exorbitant price, paying the scalper price is not still going to be way more than even after the tariffs kick
Right?
in. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to say. I don't actually know what the manufacturing point is for a lot of these
mm-hmm.
um, components. Like if they're manufactured in Taiwan, they don't get hit with the tariff. Um, and there's some interesting questions about how companies could get around the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, although that adds costs too, but uh, if they manufacture the video card in, let's say, Shenzhen, but then they ship it to Taiwan, and Taiwan they do something to it, and then they ship it from there to the United States. Will that be sufficient to kind of get around the tariff?
Right.
Um,
I suspect
so
there's going to be a lot of testing of those waters
right,
over the next couple months.
right, exactly. So we don't know what companies will do to mitigate. I mean, I did an interview and a story about this back in September, um, and interviewed someone from CTA, and he said, you know, it has to be some type of significant change to the product for it to count as being finished in the other country. Like, the US is watching, so you can't just add a
Mm-hmm.
screw or something and call it a
Right.
day. But I don't know if only 200 people are watching. Um, how much? How much are they going to enforce and police that if
Right.
like it comes to the United States from a third country?
Right.
So
Especially
I guess we'll
especially
have to
when
see.
they're especially when those 200 people are saying we don't have the resources to deal with the structure of tariffs we have now, and we're talking about doing tiered certain industries, all kinds of. They're like, there's no way we don't have the resources for that.
Right. So yeah. Um, anyway, it's so I guess my bottom line is go check out our article on the best PC builds on Tom's Hardware because you can still build something pretty cheap that can play 1080p games. It's when you're getting up into the 2K and 4K gaming, and you want ray tracing, that the cost gets higher.
Gotcha. And so, right now, the biggest contributor is the video cards.
Yes,
Yeah, I just want to make sure I heard
yes.
you right on
Now
that.
other parts could get worse,
Sure, sure.
but there's no shortage of the other components.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can always find them in stock.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So, because like, for me, this machine is due for an upgrade. The one that runs the
Yeah.
show. I don't think you guys watching the show get to hear it, but if I if I do this right now and Avram were to talk, right? If I do that transition, it your voice jitters in my head. The final product doesn't seem to do it. But during live, I get jitter in my head, in my headset, because I see processor spikes. So I've been looking at maybe a new board in proc. I don't need a video card.
Well, then it's not going to be that bad for you.
And in that
it's not going to be that bad for you at the moment.
So in that case, right now might be the time to do it before tariffs kick in, because that's where those are the components that don't currently have a big built-in, nonsense meter on them the way video cards do.
Right. Correct.
Got it. Just verifying that I understood everything correctly, because some money's going to have to be spent here soon. So there it is. Well, Avram, as always, definitely appreciate the information, because this isn't the kind of thing that I track all the time, and I know it's the kind of thing that you do track. So definitely appreciate it. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course hit the notification bell, since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.